It started as a secret, a relationship hidden in the shadows. A high school cheerleader, young, full of dreams, and a trusted coach, someone meant to guide and protect. What seemed like a risky romance soon turned into a nightmare. Whispers in the locker room, stolen glances at practice. No one suspected the dangerous truth. But when the cheerleader discovered she was pregnant, the secret could no longer stay buried. That's when everything took a deadly turn. As she struggled with the weight of her situation, she made a chilling discovery. The coach had given her more than just attention. He had infected her with HIV, a truth that shattered her world. Betrayed and terrified, she faced a choice no teenager should ever have to make. But before she could act, someone else did. What followed was a brutal crime that shocked the entire community. And the most horrifying part, the worst was yet to come. The small town buzzed with rumors, but no one knew the full truth. The cheerleader, once the star of the squad, had started withdrawing. She missed practices, her usual spark replaced with a haunted look. Her friends noticed, but when they asked, she only gave half smiles, hiding the storm inside. The coach, on the other hand, carried on as if nothing had changed, still leading the team, still earning everyone's trust. But beneath his calm exterior, he knew the walls were closing in. The pregnancy was undeniable, and the truth about the infection loomed over them both. She wanted to come forward, but fear held her back. What if no one believed her? What if exposing him meant destroying herself in the process? Every day the weight grew heavier. And then one night, everything spiraled out of control. A confrontation. A scream. And before sunrise, someone would be dead. The night air was thick with tension as she paced in her room, staring at her phone. She had typed out the message a dozen times, but couldn't bring herself to send it. Her hands trembled. Would anyone believe her? Would they blame her instead? The fear of being judged, of having her secret life exposed, was almost as suffocating as the truth itself. Meanwhile, the coach lived in quiet panic. He knew the girl was struggling, and he could feel her slipping away from his control. If she talked, everything he had built, his career, his reputation, would be over. At school, whispers grew louder. Friends noticed how she avoided eye contact, how her once proud stance now carried the weight of something unseen. A teacher pulled her aside, concerned, but she brushed it off. What could she say? That the person everyone admired was the one who had ruined her life. That night, a decision was made, one that would set a deadly chain of events into motion. She couldn't run from the truth anymore. The weight of it pressed down on her, suffocating. That night, she made up her mind. She had to confront him. Her hands shook as she typed out a message, telling him they needed to talk. No more hiding. No more pretending. The reply came quickly, too quickly. A simple "meet me." Same place. The parking lot behind the school was dark and empty, the hum of the nearby streetlights the only sound. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, heart pounding in her chest. Then headlights appeared. The car rolled to a stop, and he stepped out. His face was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes, something cold. She started to speak, her voice barely above a whisper, but he cut her off. "You can't do this." His tone was calm, but there was an edge to it, something dangerous. She backed up a step. For the first time, she realized just how alone they were. And then, in a split second, everything spiraled. A sharp cry. A sudden struggle. And before she could process what was happening, she felt a jolt of fear so intense it stole the breath from her lungs. Her pulse hammered in her ears as she stumbled back, her breath coming in sharp gasps. The coach's expression had shifted, no longer calm, no longer in control. There was desperation in his eyes now, a flicker of something unhinged. She tried to move, to put space between them, but he grabbed her wrist, his grip tightening. "You don't understand," he whispered. "This isn't just about us." Before she could respond, another sound cut through the tense night, a car approaching. Headlights washed over them, and the coach let go, stepping back quickly. She turned toward the vehicle, hoping for a way out. But as the car came to a stop, her stomach dropped. She recognized the driver. It wasn't help. It was someone else who knew their secret, someone who had been watching, waiting. The door swung open, and a familiar voice spoke. "I warned you." The words sent a chill down her spine. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just in danger, she was trapped in something far more sinister than she had ever imagined. The coach stiffened as the figure stepped into the dim glow of the headlights. The girl's breath hitched. She knew that voice, that silhouette. It was someone she had never expected to be part of this, someone who shouldn't have known the truth. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But the person just shook their head. "You already did." The weight of those words settled heavily between them. The coach took a step back, his usual confidence cracking. "This isn't what you think," he started, but the figure cut him off. "It's exactly what I think, and it ends tonight." A flash of movement, a struggle, a shout that echoed into the night, and then silence. She stood frozen, staring at what had just happened. The truth had finally come out, but at a cost no one could have predicted. And as she looked down at the final, irreversible consequence of their twisted secret, she realized this was never just her story. It had always been bigger than that, and now there was no turning back. The night felt heavier than ever as she stood there, her breath unsteady. The truth had finally unraveled, but it didn't bring the relief she'd had hoped for. Flashing red and blue lights painted the scene in harsh colors, sirens growing louder as the weight of everything sank in. She never wanted things to end this way. She only wanted justice, a way to escape the nightmare that had taken over her life. But secrets don't stay buried forever, and when they surface, they demand a price. As the authorities pieced together what had happened, she realized she would carry this night with her forever. The town would whisper, people would judge. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid anymore. The past had caught up to the present, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear, she had survived, and that was enough.